afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for joining the first and last WeShape webinar of the year. We've got a very exciting presentation from Andy Morrey on mastering data from collection to actionable insights and unlocking the full potential of your data resources. Andy will be on stage in a little bit, but first of all, I'm going to bring on the stage one of the sales representatives from WeShape, Pat Bate, who will be telling you a little bit more about WeShape before we begin the presentation. So Pat will be joining us on stage any second now. This is where technology works wonders for us.
Thank you very much, Luke. So yeah, welcome everyone. I'm Pat. I'm one of the business development leads at WeShape. So we're an award-winning DevOps data, cloud, and software engineering consultancy. So the areas we specialize in is advisory and project implementation. Very proud to say we're a B Corp organisation, as well as only recently being GCP and AWS partners. So yeah, very keen. If anyone, there's a following slide. If anyone is keen to speak anything around particular projects surrounding DevOps data, cloud or software engineering, especially within the AWS and GCP space. We are cloud agnostic as well, but we are obviously partners within those two. So yeah, should anyone have any follow-up conversations, alternatively as well, any future ideas for future webinars, yeah, more than happy to speak with anyone. So there are some QR codes there to scan. But yeah, other than that, I will leave you in the capable hands of Luke and Andy, and very much hope you enjoy the webinar. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Pat. I appreciate your insights into WeShape. Fantastic. So now what we've all been waiting for, Andy's going to join us on stage and talk to us a little bit more about how to use your data. There he is, just like magic, just the man I was looking for.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Andy, please take it away.
Right, so as Luke said, this is where we come into the technology side of things. So bear with me and I'll just put the slide deck. Right, hopefully everybody can see the screen, can see the presentation. I'll just run through this deck now. It's roughly going to take the full sort of 25-30 minutes to run through, and then we'll have some Q&As at the end for some questions. When we get to that point, I'll kind of invite you on stage and you can kind of jump on the screen. If you don't want to have yourself shown on screen, that's fine. We can just do the questions just over the normal chat without kind of highlighting you to everybody who's visible. So my name's Andy Morrey. I've been in IT for around 25 years. I'm not going to take you through the whole biopic, but I have been a enterprise data architect now for over 10 years. I started in database development, application development on the HMRC account back in 1999. And after 10 years with HMRC, the frustration of working in public sector became too much, so I moved. And really since that move, I've moved through multiple businesses, doing multiple roles, all in the IT space, and always with a kind of focus on data integration and simplification. A couple of businesses I've worked at over the past couple of years, Jaguar Land Rover, EasyJet, Green King, Muller Dairy, Compass Group, all normally on quite large ERP projects, but like I say, the focus is always really on data integration and simplification. So there's a couple of topics we're going to run through today. So first of all is data collection. So we all collect data. So now what do we do with it? Data decision making. So how much power should we give to our data? Data warehousing, how to optimize it and tidy it up without losing valuable insights. Seems key for a lot of people, and I've certainly been on some projects where that's certainly been the case. And then data reporting analytics. So the most effective tools for actual insight. So what's on the market today? What's kind of reputable? What's kind of trending, should we say, with Gartner and the likes. So with Remembrance Sunday just going past, this is quite poignant because this is a quote from a World War I and World War II RAF Air Vice Marshal. It is key to data in my mind. So the quote is, happiness is not so much in having as sharing. We make a living by what we get, but we make a life by what we give. That's quite poignant when it comes to data, really. Data is all around us. It's used every day, from taking of meeting notes to completing Excel spreadsheets. It really is intrinsically linked with business operations on a day-to-day basis. We collect data via forms. We input data via screens. We have customers and suppliers interact with our business and apply data via orders, via different portals, internets, etc., etc. And we use data internally for the purposes of which it's collected. Now, what if we shared that data that we hold so close to our business? Expose the information to benefit our relationships internally and externally with our customers, suppliers, third parties. Through the sharing of data, as well as just holding data locally for analysis, we can simplify tasks, we can automate processes, we can drive efficiencies in business. So on to topic number 1, we collect data. Now, what do we do with it? How about we analyze it, get some good insights? Or how about we undertake some trend analysis? What about we expose it to our customers or suppliers? We expose it internally to streamline or automate processes. We could use it to look at seeking out new business opportunities, changing market sector, releasing a new product. Before we distribute, share, or expose any of our data, there are some key things we should do. Firstly, we should validate the data that we hold. We should secure the data, and we should improve on the data. There's a couple of reasons for this. If we're going to use data, we need to make sure that it's valid. We need to make sure the data quality is at its optimal. We need to make sure data is secure, so only those that should have access to relevant data entities, such as customer, orders, financial information, employee information, they only have access to the data they require. Then we should improve our data. So where our data is lacking in quality, lacking in timeliness, lacking in completeness, we might find that our data models, for example, aren't giving us the full picture. We're not collecting enough information. By doing those, it kind of puts us in a better place with our data and allows us to use our data much more effectively, efficiently, and securely. So as I've highlighted here, you wouldn't knowingly give an unwanted gift to someone. And if you're sharing that internally or externally, you don't want to be kind of passing bad data and giving the wrong impressions. So there's a couple of items here which are data issues that I've seen across multiple businesses, across multiple industries in the 25 years I've been in IT. Data being siloed in different regions or across multiple different systems. No concept of a master record. So data assets existing in multiple places with different attributes and data types. Might have a customer record in a sales system, might have a customer record on an ERP system, might have a customer record in a CMS. Are they all the same record? If I've got one person who's a customer in each of those 3 systems, is that record identical across name, suffix, prefix, address, contact number? And if they're not, which one do I trust? We have fractured BI, which is data compiled from various different systems and non-system sources. In my time, I've seen people consuming data from emails, from Word documents into their BI to later report on. No control, no governance. Talking of which, no data owners or no data governance leads to poor quality, ungoverned data with no one to take responsibility and resolve and align across the business. And that's key if you're in the IT space, because the data is owned by the business, and IT are really there to support the use and analytics of that data. And then we've got missing data classifications, which gives rise to potential data security breaches, mishandling of customer and or supplier data. So as I say, it's about the security aspects. So we all collect data. Now what do we do with it? So now our data is in good shape. What should we do next? Now we've secured it, improved it, we validated it. Well, we can analyze our data, we can expose the data, we can monetize, and we can seek new opportunities. So let's just run through those. So from an analysis point of view, the type of analysis we can do if we've got good data, a good variety of data, we could carry out trend analysis, we could look at demographics from our customers, we could look at deploying that data and deploying machine learning against it. We can do some pattern analysis. We can combine data from external sources such as weather. So how does weather impact sales of goods, for example, or services? When it comes to exposing data, we can build components to expose data, to integrate data. We could build APIs. We could share that data to make working with our partners, our customers, our suppliers outside of the business significantly more efficient. And from a customer point of view, it puts them on a better customer journey. Equally, from a HR point of view, if you've got a candidate and that data is available and it streamlines the candidate journey, it just makes it better for both candidate and business, certainly much more professional. When it comes to monetizing data, there's data that we may collect that we don't currently offer, or we might offer it currently for free. There are opportunities there to offer data as a service to customers, suppliers, and third parties, which might provide increased functionality on portals or dashboards, but it'll provide more data. Amazon, for example, you can go and log on to your account and view your past orders. I've worked at businesses where they've provided data on a dashboard for a customer, and for the first 12 months, they've kind of seen what that new data is really kind of giving to the customer and getting feedback. And when that feedback's been exceptionally good, there's a chance then, after a period of time, 12, 18 months, 2 years, to offer that as a service then, either an API if it's a customer, that's external or a supplier, or if it's a customer like an end user like myself, to kind of offer that as an additional benefit, additional service, and therefore charge. And then when it comes to seeking new opportunities, we can streamline business processes through automation. We can streamline business process through integration. We can find new data to collect that has purpose and helps the business by providing data which will help make business decisions. So seeking opportunities isn't necessarily just about kind of market share, new products. It can actually be about what can you use that data for internally. You could take certain processes which are manual, for example, and automate them. Like I say, it just means there's an opportunity there to streamline, to share data. If the landscape is correct and the data is valid and trustworthy, there's so many different ways that we can utilize that data now we've collected it. Okay, and finally, ask the business what they would like to do with the data. That's quite a key one. Some businesses, some functions within business are happy to just use their data on a day-to-day basis to carry out their BAU. Does a business want to increase its sales and revenue? There could be opportunities there. Do they want to optimize costs and lean out? Do they want to identify new markets or opportunities to grow or diversify? Data is there at our disposal to be able to kind of look at all of those opportunities. Okay, so let's look at the next topic, data-driven decision making, and how much power should we give to our data? It's an interesting one because there's multiple answers for this, but the real questions before we talk about how much power we should give for our data really should be, do we have the right kinds of data? Do we have enough data? Again, it comes back to how much we trust that data. Is our data current enough? Is our data consistent enough? In summary, is it relevant? Is it complete? Is it accurate? Is it timely? If we can answer yes to all of those, then really how much power we give to data for decision making depends on the business. It depends on how much risk people are willing to take. No doubt everybody be aware of ML, AI, slowly creeping into the industries. Certainly people may be prototyping, undertaking proofs of concept, but it's not really at a place yet where it can definitely look at data within a business with no guarantee that the data is accurate and complete, and provide the correct decisions to tell us how a business is going to perform going forward. There's always external variables. Nobody saw COVID coming, for example. A poor summer, again, you can't tell the weather forecast. Certainly the Met Office can't for more than probably about a week. So there's always external variables which are going to impact some of the decision making. What we can do with our data, though, is give it enough power, have enough trust, and enough data collected to be able to make some pretty rational decisions. We're never going to be able to see what the future looks like. We can see trends in markets. We can see how past performances have gone when we overlay those external variables. So really, it's in the kind of hands of the business. How much risk are they willing to take in putting behind data to drive decision making? For me personally, if you've got the right kind of data, and that's a key one, and you've got enough of the information, you can use it to make decisions to build your business, to grow, to diversify, and to increase revenue. Certainly, when it comes to internal operations, certainly to streamline and automate. So we've got data and we're looking to use data for insights and driving the business forward. And we've got a data warehouse. Now, this is probably a familiar story for quite a few of you out there, but when your data warehouse has been around a while, or you've acquired different businesses and pulled data over, or you've got multiple systems, you might be going through a big change piece, for example, you tend to find that data warehouses can become quite polluted, and some of the data we lose a little bit of faith in. Not only that, but due to the sheer volumes of data, certainly when it comes to regulatory and legislative guidelines around how long we have to keep data warehouses can slow down. So how do we optimize and tidy up without losing valuable insights? So we could get indexing some tables, that should speed things up a little bit. We could optimize queries to improve performance. We could archive the old data we don't need. We could upgrade the hardware components, get some more CPU, some more RAM, expand those servers. What we really should do before any housekeeping, which will help with optimizing both performance and data, is understand the constructs of our data. We should review regulatory and legislative guidelines, and we should define the relevant rules. By doing this, we'll know the scope and set standards for what good looks like. So just running through this, so understand the construct of data. What do I mean by that? So how well do we know our data entities? How well do we know our data models? Do we know that in our system landscape, we've got data replication going on? And if we have, where does the golden record sit? What is our master record? Do we have an MDM system? All of that needs to really be understood as part of this to make sure that when we make decisions on cleansing data or building queries, that we are taking the most accurate, timely information. We're not causing additional duplication, and that we can trust that data within our data warehouse for whatever purpose we want to put it for. Now, if we want to archive some data or remove some data, which is what this slide's really about, without losing the valuable insights, we need to understand before we start deleting stuff from 4 or 5 years ago, what regulatory and legislative guidelines sit behind that data. Financial data we have to keep for 7 years. There's additional data that we have to keep for the same period of time. So that data has to be protected regardless of its state. What we also need to do is define the relevant rules. So what does a good record look like? From a customer record, what am I expecting to see? And this links back to the construct of the data. If I've got a data dictionary in my business and I know that my customer record should have a prefix and a suffix, and within a prefix it should be one of a list of values like Mr., Mrs., Ms., Doctor, General, etc., etc. I can start looking at that as the basis for my rules to say any records that don't meet that criteria don't hit the good standard. And that's when we can start looking at removing some of that data. Similarly with sales orders, similarly with purchases, similarly with products. We should have a data dictionary that tells us what good looks like. Once we've got that, we have our scope, we've got our standards, and then we can take some action. So like I say, our rules are defined. How do we weed out the data we want? There's a couple of different ways we can do this. Data cleanse is the most obvious to probably everybody who's on this call and listening in. But what is data cleanse? How do we do data cleanse? Well, there's actually 4 different options for data cleanse. You've got manual data cleanse, which is cheap. It works. It can be undertaken straight away. It can be undertaken in the tools we have at our disposal today. But manual cleanse comes with risk, and the risk are mistakes being made, typos, deleting an incorrect record. It's manual intervention, and therefore it's not necessarily repeatable 100% of the time across all records, across all entities. So we could take the next step, which would be an automated data cleanse. Now, this speeds up the process and ensures consistency, but there's still a risk, especially with self-developed cleansing. So if somebody's written a macro, if somebody's written some SQL statements, if the consistency is wrong, the consistency will be applied incorrectly, and therefore we won't hit that golden record that we're looking for. Now, there are some products on the market that will cleanse data to a high degree. The limitation really comes with how well their models and your data work and how configurable their setups are. Equally, how well that configuration is completed and undertaken within the business and also in the right place. So to remove the risk more, and again, we're kind of going up the scale here in cost, you can have your data cleanse undertaken externally. So there are several businesses out in the industry who you can supply your data to, can supply your rules and guidance, and they will run that data cleanse for you, which obviously frees up your resource, ensure consistency. You've got a bit of a guarantee and some insurances there. Obviously, what that does do is increases the time to be completed and also increases the cost behind it. The other way you can cleanse data is to externally provision data. So you may have a load of address data, for example. It's quite a simple one. You might have a load of customers with addresses. You're not entirely sure how well their addresses are formed, how well that data is formed. And there are then different companies that provide that data for you. So you could instantiate an address postcode validation software. It could be done on an API basis, or you could amend the address data from a set of data that's been purchased. So you might just buy a whole rook of data. And this could all be done through automated batches and processing. Like I say, you could just buy the full data set of address details, but then still at that point, once you've got that data in, because it's probably not to your exact construct, you would have to then compare that data with your customer data. So in essence, all data cleanse comes with a risk, all comes with cost, but it is required. And as long as we've got a good set of rules in place and the scope, then it is largely a successful piece of work to undertake. Now, instead of removing data, there is another option, which isn't really data cleanse, and that's to migrate. So in the reverse, what we could do is look at our data, select the records we actually want to keep based on our rules, and move them to a new table or a new data warehouse or a new database. Now, if you're in the middle of a program of work, that could absolutely work. If you're in a BAU environment, you might not have that luxury. And there's a couple of reasons for that. Obviously, you're changing an underlying database table. What you're going to have to do is almost replicate that, get the data correct, and almost read it back. So there's a period of downtime there. But what migrating does give is a reduced risk for deleting records that we don't want to delete. It allows us to just pick the ones that absolutely meet our criteria. There's obviously then the ones that are close, the 80-90% near the golden record, and that's then where we're going to have to deploy some sort of manual or automated run through, or maybe externally provisioning some of that data to complete those records. But multiple different opportunities there for tidying up a data warehouse without losing the valuable insight data that we may have been collecting for several years. There are a couple of other things obviously we can do. Post-migration or post-data cleanse, there is indexing. That will obviously improve and optimize reads of tables. There's data compression. There's another one. So implementing data compression will reduce storage requirements, speed up data retrieval. There is a trade-off, though, between compression and CPU usage. We've got query optimization. So analyze, optimize your SQL queries, ensure they're well structured, and make efficient use of those indexes from point one there. Use materialized views. So using materialized views to pre-compute and store aggregated data can significantly speed up query performance, but only for certain types of queries. We've then got a few other options. Parallel processing. So taking advantage of parallel processing capabilities in your data warehouse is certainly a good thing to do. It distributes the query workloads across multiple nodes or servers to improve performance. We have caching. So implementing caching mechanisms to store frequently accessed query results, which will reduce the need to recompute them on a regular basis. And then obviously we've got the hardware and software updates, which would be key for staying on top of any tool set, really. Okay, so I'm just moving on to the last slide. So data reporting analytics, the most effective tools for actionable insights. This is a really interesting topic, and for me it's a little bit subjective because it really does depend on the construct of your data landscape and your architecture of your IT landscape, really, how data is moving, whether you have a master data management solution in place, whether you don't, whether you're on Azure, AWS. There's so many variables which kind of play part as to which one's best. So what I've done is I've selected probably the top 6 I would be looking at the moment. Tableau has been around for quite a while now. Powerful data visualization tool. And that allows users to create interactive and shareable dashboards. So really key if it's kind of going a dashboard that maybe your customers or your suppliers need to see, or if you're sharing with clients, for example. Power BI, Microsoft product. It's been around for quite a while now. It's a business analytics tool, provides interactive visualizations and business intelligence with an interface simple enough for most front-end users, as you'd expect from Microsoft. Allows people to create their own reports and dashboards. So really good if you're deploying that in the business into different functions. More of an internal sort of analytics tool. You've got ClickView and ClickSense, both data visualization and business intelligence tools. ClickSense is the more recent platform, and that's got more of a focus on self-service analytics. So again, if you're sharing that data externally via a dashboard, via an API, via a portal you've built for a client or a customer, or maybe another function, department, or region for the business. Look at something I've not used personally, but it's on the Gartner top quartile. It's a data exploration and business intelligence platform, and it allows organizations to analyze and share real-time business analytics. Google Data Studio. So the reason I include this because it's free, which is good. So for smaller businesses or for businesses that aren't ready to take the plunge into multi-million-pound architecture and data reporting analytics setups, this allows users to create customizable reports and dashboards using data from various sources. And obviously, all that's deployed into Google's cloud. So, there is an element of risk, but security, etc., needs to be taken into consideration. And I'm sure Google will have got all the relevant documentation to back up the security of your data. CSense is the last one I'm going to highlight in detail here, but this is another business intelligence platform that provides both data integration and analytics capabilities, which allows business users, to prepare, analyze, and visualize very complex data sets. So there's a bit of an array here. And like I say, it's subjective. It really does depend on what your business is doing, where you're going to use insights, where you're going to share insights, how that data is going to be exposed externally via a portal, via a function. It really does depend on the business's need. And behind that, really, it depends on the actual data architecture and the physical architecture that sits behind even the data architecture. Each one's deployable in a different way. Some of these are platforms as a service, so it can be effectively held in the cloud with your data moving to and from. So it really does, again, depend on what the business is looking for, what the business does on a day-to-day basis, and what opportunities you're looking to use that data for. Now, there are a few others. Domo, again, I've not used. IBM Cognos has been around for quite a time now. Everybody's favorite reporting analytics tool, Microsoft Excel. Wouldn't really laugh. Everybody uses Excel, but there are some key bits and pieces in Excel, like Power Query, where you can actually link it directly to a database. Again, for a cheap, simple to use, simple to set up data reporting analytics piece, Excel's actually not too bad. Obviously, if you're not working with massive data. And then you've got Yellowfin BI. So I have included the quadrant for analytics and business intelligence platforms. You can see Microsoft's right up there in the top corner with Salesforce just kind of behind it. You'll see Click, Domo, Google all around here. And then there's obviously some additional ones around here like Zoho, which again I've used before. Get your Amazon Web Services, Alibaba Cloud, IBM SaaS. There's such an array there, and that's just what's in Gartner. Analytics reporting tools are cropping up all the time in the industry. Like I say, it really just depends on your feeling for what flavor, what sort of costs, what your architecture looks like, which really then depends on which one you pick, as well as the actual business use. Regardless what you pick, the effectiveness and capability of a platform is really determined by the organization's data landscape. You can have the best software, hardware in the world, but if the data is not built correctly to work efficiently, data models aren't there, the security is not there, the data is not good enough, then you're only going to get a limited capability and a limited positive return, I guess, on any analytics platform. Similarly, the resource capability. If anyone's looking to kind of run that data reporting analytics internally, again, the best setup in the world. But if you don't have the right people to support it, to maintain it, to build the analytics in the first place, then it's never going to kind of come to full fruition. So both the data that underpins any analytics report tool is key in its quality, in its security, in its robustness, as are the people that support it and the platforms. Okay, I'm done with that. Hopefully that was useful to people. We are going to kind of send the slide deck out for everybody to kind of have a look over it. But for now, are there any questions? I'll stop sharing at this point. Got a question from Harry. I don't know if Luke, are you still there? Question from Harry: do you have any preference on the data visualization tool? Like I've just said, very much of a muchness. It depends really on what sort of visualizations you want. So some visualization tools are quite quick to build, typical donuts, column type reports. Some allow you to drill down. A lot of people, certainly in the SAP world, will use the likes of SAP BW and business objects, with BW for HANA replacing that in the near term. Personally, I'm quite a fan of Power BI, but that's because of my Microsoft development background. So I'm very keen on Microsoft products. I find them quite easy to use. Any other questions? Harry, I hope that's answered your question, by the way. Nobody got any more questions? Oh, just another one pop up. Company don't have a data warehouse yet. Would you create one or move directly towards products like Apache, Spark, or similar? There's a bit of a prerequisite really for me before we even have a data warehouse, and that really is to make sure your data is in good shape. Is your data well formed? Do you have a data dictionary? Do you have the relevant data models? It also depends on the size of the business and what the business is doing on a day-to-day basis as part of their BAU. You know, if you're a plumbing company down the road and you've got 20, 30 staff, but you want to collect your employees' data, your customer data, your sales data, services, etc., then do you need a data warehouse? A database is probably sufficient. If you're a multinational, multi-million pound company, I'd be surprised if you didn't have a data warehouse yet, or at least a collection of databases, and maybe I wouldn't say a central repository, but at least having some sort of integration in there for systems and data to start talking to each other. So realistically, I think a data warehouse is probably a fundamental post getting the data architecture before moving then to Apache Spark or anything similar. Okay, any additional questions? Oh, that's a good question. Any top tips for somebody starting a data BI analytics career? I can tell you what I told my son, who's currently at Manchester Uni. Top tips. So for me, what I found easy moving into the enterprise data architecture space is because I have a background in database development as well as application development. And I did that for 10 years at HMRC. And I think with that, and certainly working for an IT company, EDS and Capgemini, there's quite a lot there to kind of undertake. You don't just build a database, you don't just build an application. Things have to be considered. So like the best laid project, planning beforehand before you kind of build a database is key. And part of that planning that I've come to realize later in life, as I've completed my TOGAF, is that there needs to be data architecture in place, because that sets up the fundamentals for moving forward and growing. So I think any sort of database development or any sort of database work, initially to understand how databases work, understanding some of the lingo, should we say, like, you know, normalization, etc., understanding what a data to entity is, just the basic concepts of data, I think is a really key thing. And that can be found online. There's various different demos, YouTube videos. It's certainly worth having a look at. And then understanding how data works, you know, with other data, how data is linked, what a data model is, what it's in place for, what it's supposed to do, looking at integration. I think really from someone starting a career, really is just get involved with as much stuff as you can, really, where the data is. Ask the questions. You know, nobody's going to shout for asking a question, whether it's right or wrong. It's how we've all learned in the past. So, you know, experience is key. Getting involved. And one of the things I would say, certainly from a data and analytics point of view, is look at different technologies. I've recently worked with a client on their products, and their products were based on MongoDB. Now, I'd never really used MongoDB before, so coming at that from a data architecture point of view is significantly different from your traditional database like SQL, Oracle, DB2. Different learnings, even to the point where you can complete their training online with Mongo directly at no cost. So yeah, absolutely, just get stuck in with YouTube, do the research, try and get involved. Yeah, no problem, Harry. You're more than welcome. Feel free to reach out, you know, after this anyway. So when the slide deck goes out, my email address and my LinkedIn profile will be available there. So yeah, if you need any help with anything, please do feel free to give me a shout. Right, before I finish up here, is there anything else? Any other questions? Any comments? Any feedback? Any thoughts? Anybody like to kind of share from your own personal businesses and kind of what's happening there? Your own challenges, for example. You're welcome, James. Not a problem.
Fantastic. Well, personally, Andy, I really enjoyed your presentation. And thank you very, very much for agreeing to speak on behalf of WeShape. But I think that seems like the natural end to the webinar itself. I hope everyone enjoyed. It's one thing to note, this is the first of many. So in January next year, we'll be launching 2 or maybe 3 more webinars. So keep your eye out for more fantastic speakers like Andy, and we hope to see you all soon. Thank you very much, Andy. Thank you everyone for watching, and I will see you later. Bye, bye, bye.
Thank you so much, all. Cheers.